What's up, guys? DrFeelGood here, back again with another video prescription. And today I want to talk about one of the most discussed and controversial topics within the gaming community and industry today. And probably has been for the last decade or so, to be honest. Now, usually when you hear the word controversial, 9 times out of 10, it involves Nintendo, and today is no different. But I'm going to provide some insight. I'm going to attempt to open some eyes, although I know I'm going to fail miserably. But I'm going to attack this from a different side, and here goes. As you see in the title, as I've always said, past, present, and will say in the future for the most part, Nintendo does not need third parties. You always hear people saying Nintendo needs third parties to survive. They've proven that over the course of the last 30 plus years they don't. But they always say Nintendo, quote unquote, needs third parties. I'm not against them getting third party games. I'm not even saying I don't want the games. Who doesn't want more games? But I like to focus on that word need because that's where I think the mistake lies. Nintendo could use third parties, yes, be great to have them, but they do not need them. Let me explain why. Now, usually when you have all this stuff come up, you have people saying all this oddball stuff. Typically the ones that are saying this are in their early to mid 20s. They started gaming around the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 generations. That's that for the most part. Not everyone, but for the most part. You have a few oldies like myself, probably in their 30s, that believe this bullshit and can rarely even provide legitimate reasons or facts as to why. They can never prove their point. And when they do, they always want to bring up sales of the console, which doesn't really tell or say whether a console would do better if it had more third-party support. But let's move on. The first reason why I believe Nintendo does not need third parties is because their consoles are profitable at launch. The only exception to that, I believe, was the Wii U, but it was profitable at launch when being sold with one game. And who buys a console without buying games? So one could essentially say that although the console was sold at a slight loss, when sold with one game, it was profitable. Guess what? That means it was profitable at launch. Now, technically and officially, a few months after the Wii U was released, it was profitable when being sold as standalone console. This is a few months after the release. Okay? So the Wii U was profitable through and through, essentially. Whereas, I'm just speaking of the 7th and 8th gen for the most part, because this is when it's gotten really out of hand and the ignorance came about. But the PS3 was sold at a $200 to $300 loss. The Xbox 360 was sold at a loss. I believe the Xbox One is also sold at a loss. The PS4, not so much, at least not before the PS4 Pro and VR and things like that. Okay? So Nintendo is already making money on their consoles. The same can be said about the Switch. And of course, their biggest profit margin was the Wii U. Was the Wii, in which at launch they were making $50 per console. With the Wii, $50 per console sold. That's a lot of damn cheddar. That was at launch, people. Now you may be saying, well, DrFeelGood, if this is about Nintendo, whether they need or not need third parties, why you bring up the consoles? Well, because money is involved. Okay? While Nintendo's competitors are losing or essentially losing money in their every console sold, Nintendo's making money. So as a business, as long as you're making money, you can remain in business. When you're making profit, you can afford to stay in business. When you're losing money, regardless of what you do, it's kind of hard to stay in business. Okay? That's just common sense business 101. The next reason, and this is probably going to go on for a few minutes, but I want to ask you guys a quick question. And this is about third parties strictly now. They need third parties, right? If you take away all the third party and non-exclusive games from all three consoles, that means Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony, who is left with the most games? You guys ever thought about that? If you strip away all these third-party multiplats, who is left with the most games? Do you still think it will be PlayStation or Xbox? It would actually be Nintendo. And I have a few examples here. I have all three systems. Well, let's say all four. I have the Wii U, PS4, Slim, Xbox One S, and I also have a Nintendo Switch. So looking at Sony, right now, they're still in the 8th gen. Yes, then Switch is a 9th gen console, but Sony's still in the 8th gen, okay? They have Bloodborne, Street Fighter V. Technically, it's on the PC, but I'll give you guys that since it's a console exclusive. But I'll give you that piece of shit. Gran Turismo, God of War, Infamous, Last Guardian, which no one bought except me, Uncharted, Killzone, which not many care for, and Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, there may be a few other exclusive games out there I'm not thinking about from even some reputable, developers or publishers, but these are the ones I can think of off the top of my dome, okay? But if you think about the amount of games that have released within these IPs or franchises, it's not many. Even just the ones I mentioned. Okay, on the PlayStation 4, for example, there's only been one Killzone. Horizon is a new IP, but it's exclusive. Uncharted, 4. Yeah, 4. If you want to include the Uncharted collection, that gives you 3 more games. So that puts you at 6 games. Okay? 6. Last Guardian is 7. Infamous is 8. God of War hasn't come out yet, but let's say it already came out. That's 9. Gran Turismo, that gives you 10 or 11. I'm not sure how many games hit the PS4. Street Fighter V, you got one more there. Bloodborne. So roughly about 13 games, more or less, that you have that are exclusive that I can think of. These are the popular franchises. Exclusive games, people. Exclusive. Keep that in mind. On the Xbox front, we got Halo. And I know that includes Halo 5 and Master Chief Collection. Okay, but you got and Halo Wars, but you got Halo. You have Forza. You have Gears of War, Quantum Break, which is a new IP, Sunset Overdrive, Killer Instinct, Rise, Ori and the Blind Forest, and Recore. So with Halo, you got the Halo Master Chief Collection, which on the Xbox One, that was like 4 games. You got Halo 5, there's 5 games. Halo Wars is 6. Forza, I think they have Forza 5, 6, and 7. So they're already like 10 games of those 2 franchises, but essentially the same, all right? You got Quantum Break, Sunset Overdrive, KI, Rise, of course, Ori's a new IP, Recore's a new IP, Rise a new IP. So roughly about the same games between both of these companies, Sony and Microsoft, right? But Nintendo, do I really need to go through and add up all the exclusive games for the Wii U? Because they did have the most exclusives. I can go get my box of Wii U games. I really, really can. But seriously, I mean, I can even name some of the lame ones. Mario Party, 10, of course. Nintendo Land. That's exclusive. Not on anything else. Bayonetta 2. I won't even include the first one. Bayonetta 2. Xenoblade Chronicles X. Smash Brothers 4. Now, I gave you guys a break on Street Fighter 5. That's on PC. So Smash Brothers 4 for Wii U. Yes, it's on 3DS, but still, it's exclusive to Nintendo. All right. Splatoon. And before it went multiplat, Legacy Identical, but I'll take that off. But it was exclusive to the Wii U, so I can actually leave it on there if I want to. Okay? Yeah, Pokken Tournament. And I can, of course, you got The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. You got Wind Waker HD, if you want to call it that. You could say it was an old game remastered, but even still, the last system it was on was what? The GameCube? I'm just saying. But think about it. I could keep on going and going. I really, really can. Mario Kart? I mean, come on. Of course, you got the new ARMS on the Switch. Nintendo has games over games over games over games stacked on top of each other. So if there were no third-party games, you take away all the multiplats, the biggest library by far would be Nintendo. And guess what? You know who's making Nintendo games? Nintendo. Even some of these exclusives I mentioned on the side of Sony and Microsoft, they kind of are second-party games. Some of those are second-party games. They're not made by Sony. Of course, Killzone is made by Guerrilla Games, Horizon Zero Dawn. Yes, they work exclusive with Sony, but that's still not made by Sony. It's not made by Sony. Just saying. If you really think about it, the biggest library of first party and or exclusive content will be on a Nintendo platform every damn time. Every time, people. See, all we see is that Nintendo needs more third-party games. And usually the ones that say that, they're only referring to the big third-party games. Call of Duty, Battlefield, NBA 2K, Madden, Assassin's Creed. They're talking about those games. They're not talking about the little indie titles. And let me not even go into the indie scene. Nintendo runs that front. Virtual console, anybody? eShop? You think yo Indie Station 4 is good when it comes to indies? Please. The Wii will kill the PlayStation 4 when it comes to indies. So don't go there. Don't go there. You won't win that either. But the ones that scream about third-party support are the ones talking about the big major AAA third-party titles. But you take away all these multiplats, what do you have left? Would you actually be satisfied with the games I listed, such as Last Guardian, Horizon, Killzone, Uncharted, God of War, Infamous? If you go in to play those games, would you be satisfied with yourself, with your console, with your purchase? I'm not trying to troll you. I'm asking a serious question. If the only games they had on it were games produced by the console manufacturer themselves, would you be satisfied with your PlayStation 4 purchase or your Xbox One purchase? Because I can tell you, my Wii U, I own mostly Nintendo games. My Wii, I own mostly Nintendo games. And I can keep going back other generations, even for the Switch. I own mostly Nintendo games. That's not to say I don't buy third-party games. I buy games that are fun. I buy games I'm interested in. I love third-party games. I got plenty of them. But I'm just saying, would you be satisfied with your Xbox One if all you could play was Halo, Forza, Gears of War, Killer Instinct, Recore, Rise, Sunset Overdrive? If that's all you could play, nothing else, had to be something created only by Microsoft. I know some of you are thinking, well, let's do it the other way. Let's take away all the first party content and see what they can. But see, Nintendo fans are not bitching about first party content on other consoles. We're not. See, to me, a true gamer like myself, we follow the games. See, I didn't go buy a PS4 and start bitching at Sony saying you need to make more first party content. I didn't go buy an Xbox One and say, Microsoft, we need more first party content, man. Seriously. You know, the hell with all these third party games. I need to see some games from you. Didn't say that. Just like I didn't buy a Nintendo Switch or Wii U saying, hey, Nintendo, I need more third party games, man. You know, you're slipping. No, I follow wherever the games go. It's as simple as that. So this video is about third party. And I know probably one of you is going to make a video about, well, let's take away the first party. But see, that's stupid, because what business doesn't want to support itself? Do you know why Netflix and Disney and other big companies stay in business? Because they have exclusive content that they produce themselves out of their own pockets. They save money. They control the budget. It's like selling your piss to the public. It's going to always make money. That's how you stay in business. You got to have something exclusive. You cannot be the world's biggest or most profitable business when all you do is depend on the likes of third-party content to fill your business product line. Just saying. Nintendo is not going to stop supporting itself and depend totally on third parties like Microsoft and Sony have. So even if you did want to make a video about taking away first party content, that wouldn't even be realistic. You'd be putting the fate of your device in the hands of third parties, which Sony and Microsoft have clearly done for the last decade. If these third parties were to just decide to walk away for whatever reason, Sony and Microsoft would be dead in the water. What else could you do? What else could you play? They're depending on them, and third parties know it. See, when it comes to a third-party game, the console manufacturers such as Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, they only get the licensing fees. That's it. Which means out of a $6 game, they get about $12. They get the licensing fee. That is it. That's all they get. And that's if they're not paying for the third-party advertising and promoting the game. That's if they're not paying for that, which we know since the 7th gen, they have been paying for that. When you look at E3 now, you don't see Activision promoting Call of Duty. Sony and Microsoft do it for them on their dime. Activision's sitting back like, yeah, go right ahead. Sure, the game's coming. You pay for everything. You pay for the license. You're paying for our game, and you're also paying for advertising. So we have no need to waste our money doing it, in addition to you. But Nintendo, when it comes to their first party content, if it's a retail physical version, which means it needs to go to a third party store like Best Buy and Target, they get $48 of that. So 80%. If it's a digital title, they get 100% of that money. Think about that. So let's say Breath of the Wild had 1 million downloads sold. That is $60 million. All of it is profit for Nintendo. That's all their money. They ain't got to pay anybody else but their own employees. No third party gets paid for that. But look at Grand Theft Auto. If Grand Theft Auto sold 1 million downloaded copies of the game or whatever, Sony only gets what? Let's think about that. $60 a pop. That's $60 million. Sony would get 12 million. Whereas Nintendo would get 48. Yeah. And advertising today is not cheap. Just saying. Think about this. When you both develop and sell your own product, you control your budget. This is why I say they don't need third parties. And if you think about some of the highest selling games in history, what are they? Nintendo titles. Most of them are Nintendo games. And let's make it even more fair. I'll do you a favor. What are the highest selling games on a Nintendo platform? Typically, it's not a third party game. It's a Nintendo game. On the Wii U, Mario Kart 8, almost 9 million copies. 9 million. That's $60 a pop. And if they were all digital, that would be $540 million. And I think they sold at least 2 million digitally. So that's 120 million all profit for them. Splatoon, almost 6 million, 5-6 million. Yeah. New Super Mario Brothers U, I think it's around 6 or 7. Super Mario 3D World, I think it's around 4 or 5 million. Yeah. Assassin's Creed ain't lighting up that chart. It's not NBA 2K. It's not even Call of Duty. On Nintendo platform, Nintendo games rule. So why would Nintendo want to stop making their content when they know it's going to sell? Because people buy their content because it's exclusive and it's quality. Common sense, people. Common sense. That's all I ask. And for the ones that I always want to say, a third party help this and that. You're right, it can help. But let me tell you something. You know how much debt Sony and Microsoft, or should I say PlayStation and Xbox divisions, racked up during the 7th gen? Over $8 billion in debt. 160 million consoles sold during the 7th gen. And it all ended up being in the negative for those two. $8 billion. Sony netted $1 billion of that within the first 9 months after the PS3's release. The PS3 didn't become profitable until 2012. 6 years later. The PS3 became profitable the year before the PS4 released. That's sad. That is sad. Microsoft took a $1 billion hit on the Red Ring of Death alone. They have $8 billion in debt coming out of 7th gen. You think Sony has already recouped that cost? Let's just split it down the middle. I think it's more so on Sony's side than Microsoft, but let's just split it down the million, $4 billion each. Sony, the PlayStation division, has been making profit. 100 million here, 200 million there, whatever. They have not netted $4 billion in profit yet to make up for the 7th gen, I'm sorry. They're still digging themselves out of a hole, people. So if you hear Sony saying, oh yeah, this quarter we made a $250 million profit, that's great. Congratulations. Do that about 20 more times and you may break even. But then they released the PS4 Pro and then the VR and all the research and development of that. They accumulated even more debt. I'm just saying. But I just want to give you guys something to think about, because we hear this all the time. Nintendo needs third parties. They need third parties, and more. And even now with the Switch, even with the Switch doing so well and has been dropping a major title every month, they need third parties. No, they don't. They could use them, yes, but they don't need them. And go back to that question I asked you. Take out all the multiplats from all 3 console manufacturers. Who would have the best library? Let me know in the comment section. And if you have any questions, be sure to drop them. Anyway, that's all I have to say about this right now. And as I always say, keep it gaming.